As part of a series of sessions in the GFW community, NPCI has established itself as a thought leader, and they have opened up a program for women returning after a career break called Returnity. We had our first session with Mr. Dilip Asbe, who is the managing director and CEO of NPCI, where he was in a fireside chat with young girls, answering all their questions about what is fintech, what are the careers in fintech, what are the skills required to excel in fintech sector. We had our next session with Aparna Kumar, who is the CTO of SBI. And she also answered questions about what are the future innovations in fintech sector, and how you can enter and excel as a career in fintech. We are joined today by the very talented Mr. Rahul Chari, who is the founder and CTO of PhonePe, and he will engage in a conversation with Punitaa Chadha, who is from NPCI. We are also joined by Rika Roy from our very own Aspire for Her. Over to you, Rika.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chari, for joining us this afternoon. And thank you, Punitaa, for being there hosting this session. Well, I'm Rika Roy. I lead special projects at Aspire for Her. And that means I lead the Aspire for Her Foundation we have various interesting projects where we have a collective of 23,000 women entrepreneurs in a community called Entrepreneury, and we typically accelerate their businesses. I also lead a community of sportswomen called Her Sporty Champion. And what we do is at the end of their sporting career, we find jobs and entrepreneurship opportunities for them. Talking a little bit about Aspire for Her, it was found on Women's Day 2020 by very talented and inspirational Madhura Dasgupta Sinha, because she wanted to address the gender gap. We are fifth from bottom when it comes to women's participation in workforce in India, and that is a McKinsey data. And how does Aspire for Her address help getting more women into work is by building communities. We are a total community size of 3 lakh 1,000, as Hiral mentioned. Our largest community, of course, is Tech for Her. Apart from Entrepreneury, as I told you, being 23,000 plus, we look at these communities as as tools to either accelerate careers or accelerate their businesses. And our latest one is the fintech community. We jammed at a breakfast session during Global Fintech Forum and launched this community. We are looking for several associations to help young women returning to work to accelerate their careers. And we are definitely looking at collaborations with you, Mr. Chari, so that we can help all of these women. Punitaa, over to you.
Yeah. So, thanks, Rika. That was really helpful to know about what this community is doing and how you are in touch with so many women across and helping them empower in some or the other way. Good afternoon, everybody. Just a quick introduction about myself as well. This is Punitaa Chadha here from NPCI, and with an experience of 14 years, but I would like to call out myself as one of those empowered women by NPCI at NPCI, because the 9 years of journey with NPCI has been incredible, and with each role I only get to learn more, and that's where when I got to know we have something like this initiated by NPCI, I was like, let me also be part of it. So just looking forward through the session how we can add value to every member who has joined us. And something really nice to see is the trending numbers on the participants. So just hoping this message reaches out to as many as people possible. As we all know, we are happy to have Rahul Chari with us to take through and let we may get to know about his views. Just having a quick introduction about Rahul. I guess he's not a new name for the market or the fintech domain. So quickly, something about Rahul. He is definitely the CTO and the founder at PhonePe, and he has been instrumental in the journey of PhonePe, right from the fintech evolution or the digitalization. And we know how alternatively PhonePe's name is used when we speak about UPI. That's another, the landmark product of India, I would say, which has given a lot of global recognition. So Rahul stands with the 2 decades of experience, and I guess he has given instrumental gifts to the market for us to experience. He has an expertise in consumer internet and enterprise software space. He has strong experience in building world-class tech platforms from web scale, continuously scaling systems to deal with hyper growth and evolving the processes and practices to meet. And I'm sure we also know a part of Rahul, which is a people's person, because I also manage PhonePe, so I know a lot about his leadership and style of involvement with his team. And I'm sure that attribute of his we'll be able to experience through this webinar session of ours. So Rahul, we are really happy and very thankful for you to take out time and interact with all the set of people that we have here. Over to you, just a quick 2 words that you would like
Thank,
to express.
thank you so much, Punita. Thank you, Rika. I love the term entrepreneurial. I mean, I'm going to use that. I'll co-opt that for a bunch of my initiatives. Hopefully, you haven't copyrighted that. But very excited to be here.
I'll just take 15 seconds. You know, the director of Atal Innovation Mission, where we also happen to incubate a lot of businesses. Dr. Chintan Vaishnav was at one of our programs on 31st. He was saying that a lot of your entrepreneurs should go on to become billionaires. So look at that. Look at that as the target. So I said, yes,
No,
I commit to that.
no, I think one of the, if you just zoom out, irrespective of the gender, I think one of the things for India is self-job creation. I think young folks, men or women, men and women to be precise, creating more jobs, creating opportunities for themselves as well as for others is the only way India actually progresses. I mean, it's extremely important. Outside of looking for a great job, looking for opportunities where you can create more jobs and actually fend for yourself as well as allow families to fend for themselves, I think is extremely important. So super excited. Have always been a champion of women in tech as well as women in fintech through PhonePe. So happy to share my experiences. Once again, Punita, thank you for having me here.
So that's great. We'll get started with our quick round of questions. And for all the audience who are there registered with us, we would just like to sound off. We'll run through a few set of questions with Rahul, and then we will definitely be having a window of 15 minutes where question and answers will be open for you people to raise. And please feel free to drop your questions in the chat window. We'll pick up at the once we are done with the question sessions.
We can have a quick poll to understand our audience.
Oh yes,
Prisha, please launch the.
yeah, that would be really helpful. So we will be able to see the poll on the screen.
It would be great to actually see the output of this poll before the conversation starts. Would be
Yes.
perfect.
So most of our audience is students in college who are looking for job opportunities in fintech or PhonePe.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good. So can we get started? Okay.
Yes, please.
So to begin with, Rahul, the first question that we would like to put across is that why don't you throw us some light on the journey of PhonePe, how journey of PhonePe has been in its fintech contribution or the contribution towards it, digitalization, and the era of innovations that it brings in.
Yeah, Punita. So obviously, PhonePe is what it is today because of all the amazing work NPCI does. Punitaa is part of NPCI, and NPCI is the company, the platform that has actually created UPI and PhonePe. As Punitaa said, while the maybe synonymous with UPI, UPI is an NPCI innovation, and PhonePe is innovation on top of that extremely, extremely important infrastructure in the country. So we started in December of 2015 with a very, very simple mission. Coming out of Flipkart, one of the things that Sameer and I realized was unless India transcends from being a cash economy as far as retail and retail payments are concerned to a digital economy, not a lot of businesses that are consumer internet businesses or digital first businesses are going to get created. I mean, Flipkart has had its own set of challenges scaling from COD, cash on delivery, which is a phenomenal innovation, to being digital payments. And cash on delivery has its own challenges. As you expand further with e-commerce or any other services, payment and payment infrastructure becomes the barrier for a large part of the population to start participating into the digital economy. So our mission was to be able to actually build India's largest transaction platform. That was the simple statement that we started with. In fact, we had started building a platform on top of IMPS, which again is an NPCI product. And then we heard about UPI. It was love at first sight. We realized that it's one, even today, it's a global first. There isn't any sort of platform like UPI operating at the scale that UPI operates even today in the entire world. And for us, it was like, if there's an opportunity to create the most seamless money exchange experience for consumers, whether it is a simple money transfer between friends and family, or it is payment for services and goods, it has to be on top of UPI. And that's what we started with. In the first 6 months or 8 months that we were working on the product, we hadn't launched. We launched right out of the gate when UPI launched. To be precise, it was August 28th, 2016. So we were at it, building the product. We had actually then converted our simple vision statement into what we call as a consumer strategy, which was basically to say that we need to actually build India's largest transaction platform that allows every user to map their money journey, and their money journey being starting with send money, graduating to spend money, then to manage money, and finally grow money. In that sequence, sending money would mean that you start gaining confidence on this digital platform, be it PhonePe, UPI, and the banking system, to be able to seamlessly exchange money. You know, when you're sending money to somebody, you know, if things fail, you can recover it. Once you start with that and you build that trust and relationship with send money, you can graduate to spend money, wherein whether it's for the 20 rupee tea that you're buying at a tea stall, the 100 rupee ride on an auto rickshaw, or 200 rupee ride in a cab, or a purchase on e-commerce or a store for 2000 rupees, you cover the gamut of it. Once you have send and spend, you start then graduating the user to say that now that we have these two, why don't we let you manage your money? And management happens through financial protection, through insurance, right? Or trying to actually see whether you can invest in FDs or simple products that allow your money to be safe and grow. And finally, you get into more advanced investments through the grow vertical. So as PhonePe, we have been mapping the first two pillars of the journey over the last 7 years since the product has been live. And we are looking to expand in the grow space, which is the financial services space, over the next few years. Payments itself continues to be transformative every year in India. Again, thanks to NPCI, thanks to the banking system, the progressive regulator that we have, and an extremely innovative ecosystem of all players, PhonePe, GPay, Paytm, all of us, right, working together with NPCI and others to try and continuously transform the payments landscape. At the same time, through that journey, one of the things that have been pretty important for our success and our adoption by the user base is the fact that we used data extremely intelligently to ensure that we've increased speed and reliability of payments, as well as to ensure that we get the right products to the right person at the right time. The journey of money is actually not very simple. It requires that you actually engage frequently with high level of success in a very short period of time for it to become habitual. Otherwise, you tend to actually lose trust on the platform. So using data has been extremely, extremely critical to our success. And finally, one of the most important things, I mean, a lot of you would have seen the PhonePe QR codes plastered across the country. The decision to actually lay the railroads of merchant acceptance through QRs, even through COVID, not just in when tier one was completely closed, right? The lockdowns were there. We chose to actually go to tier two and beyond and do merchant acquisition so that when we came out of the unfortunate pandemic wave, we actually had acquired merchants across every pin code in the country. Outside of the fact that the acceptance had gone so deep, the resonating factor of PhonePe as a payment instrument, UPI as being ubiquitous for digital payments across the country by seeing that UPI QR code, I don't think there's any other branding for UPI or PhonePe that we could have created. Even this was much better than even the TV ads. So our journey has been about broadly two things. One, having a very, very consistent consumer strategy in how we are looking at the consumer journey irrespective of competition or any other hiccups, we have never really veered away from the strategy of send, spend, manage, or grow. Two is focus on basics, speed, reliability, and customer experience through data and risk and fraud detection. Again, an area that NPCI helps us significantly to ensure that the frauds are minimal, the risk is reduced, and we add to that. And finally, to be able to actually lay the railroads for acceptance on the merchant side. These three principles, I would say, have been the core of the success and growth of PhonePe over the last 7 years.
Excellent. I guess so. It's a clear call out. Being consistent on what you aspire to have yourself, being focused on your vision, and customer is the king. And if since you are into this digital stream, so definitely tapping the fraud and risk mitigate elements. So that's a very clear cut, vision and how I think PhonePe has grown. And I think for this public also good to know that there's one side of the consumer front ending and definitely there's merchant acquisition also, which has helped PhonePe to scale up to next level. And we are sure this is not the end and there's still a long way to go. So that was all about PhonePe for people to know as well. Coming to next, moving to something that's specific on the topic that we have today is Rahul, what do you feel about the women in fintech? Right, maybe we can speak something about what opportunities lie ahead for them, or what are the challenges that's there, or what's new that we see with women stepping up into the fintech industry. So, how do you see women and fintech?
Uh, I think the let me get back to a one step back when we were actually brainstorming quite a bit about how to get more women engineers, specifically engineers, but and I think it goes beyond engineers also to other streams in the fintech space. How do we get more women involved? And we did a bunch of research, talking to a lot of women, especially freshers graduating out of college, as well as fairly experienced women. Two things came out. One was about the fact that the fintech space, being very, very nascent, is typically considered to be a startup domain. And there was a concern around the fact that do startups offer the level of work-life balance or flexibility that women might need in their career? So that came out very strongly. So the tendency to associate a lot of the other streams, which were traditionally a little older and therefore more structured and larger organization existed. Fintechs were always associated with the startup ecosystem, and the startup ecosystem in general had a shade of gray on them when it came to work life balance. And the second one was about the fact that the financial domain, even by women talking to women, they felt that it was a man's domain, right? And it required a skill that for whatever reason was very different. Even today, by the way, if you look at statistics of a lot of products that are built in the financial space, there is effort being made to specifically cater to women because the women don't engage in the financial space as much as they possibly should be doing, right? So these were
True.
the two kind of learnings, and I think I want to bust both those myths. One is, I think, fintech or not, I think the startup space doesn't mean necessarily that there isn't work-life balance. There is only hustle. And it also doesn't mean that women can't hustle or women need extra work-life balance. But the fact is that choose the startup for what it is versus trying to think of the startup itself, startup ecosystem itself being something that is straitjacketed into being organizations that don't support women very well, right? It is company by company, just like it is for any other company. So I think that is extremely important. Second one, think of fintech as something that actually needs more women than probably a lot of the other spaces, right? I would give examples. For example, if it's search, right? You don't necessarily need a woman's perspective on building a search product, right? It's more algorithms, etc. Men would do it as well as women. It is not necessary that women bring a different perspective than men or vice versa. But if you think about building an e-commerce website for fashion, like Mintra, would you ever even build that without having women there in every function opining on how the product should be built? Fintech is exactly like that. It is no different. When you take a view to finances, whether it is payments, whether it's investments, whether it's insurance, the man's perspective and the women's perspective actually complete it. If you take household payments, there are clearly payments that are owned by women. The final decision is with women, and there are certain things that men run. I mean, societally, we are like that, but it's an even space. Similarly, when it comes to building, say, personal finance management experiences, men and women look at it differently. And if you're building a product for the population, for the country, you can't be catering to just men and not to women, and vice versa. So I think it's important to understand that the fintech domain needs perspectives from men and women, and therefore we want more women to join the fintech space, right? So the opportunity is immense. I think what fintech brings as a domain, both to men and women, by the way, in this particular one, it's not specific to women, is the fact that it is as innovation focused as it is domain focused. And any space that has a combination of going deep in a domain to understand the first principles of the domain, as well as understand how you bring innovative technology to it, is a great space to be in, right? So you can start looking at, for example, if it's on the insurtech, to be able to understand how insurance domain works. It's super exciting, right? How does underwriting work, right? How is risk looked at for health insurance, which is very different from life insurance, which is very different from general insurance. Similarly, when it comes to, say, lending, underwriting risk based on the credit persona of a person is a very data and domain oriented thing. It is data for underwriting, it's domain to be able to understand, okay, how do NBFCs and banks think about risk? They think about it from the perspective of, do I have collection capability in a particular PIN code? Do I have is a geographical area having a decent level of affluence so that I can rely on the fact that people have the cash flow to pay back? A lot of these things. It's very domain specific, and you can bring a strong flavor of technology to it. So any such space, supply chain is something like that. Supply chain is where you bring technology and understand all the processes behind it to be able to improve it. So any space that you can go deep in the domain side and bring technology innovation is a great space to be in, because your learning is always there and it's extremely exciting. Moreover, to a very practical point, you actually build a very strong moat in your career. If you look at pure technology, you can be a generalist, right? You can be a great Java programmer. You can be amazing on databases. Technology moves very fast. You have to keep learning, but you don't necessarily have moats. Moats come in from being able to be really good in technology and understand the domain so that you become the subject matter expert there end to end. Fintech offers you that. Fintech offers you the opportunity to become a subject matter expert in payments, a subject matter expert in insurance, a subject matter expert in lending, a subject matter expert in investments, right? And from there on, the sky's the limit. You could grow within your organization. You could go in a significantly senior role in other organizations, or best, you could start your own company. So, yeah, I think it's an extremely exciting space. It needs the women's perspective. And I think for men or women, it is both one of the best places to actually build your career.
Perfect. I think I would like to pick up on that point. Uh, Anything new and fintech are the domains where something new is always in progress or in development. So women and the men and women both are required because everybody brings in a different perspective, and having a different view is something really important if you want to build something new or to cater
Yeah.
to each market segment. So that, I guess, a very very aptly picked up point. uh, Good to know your views on that. Coming back to PhonePe now, right? Since we came across at the start of our discussion that the people who are there on us in this forum, they are usually the students and the freshers. I would like to ask that can you throw some light on about career growth or prospects or
Sure.
internships at PhonePe if people are willing? What is that you can offer them, and how they can look forward to engage with PhonePe?
Sure. So I think we actually are big believers in hiring from campus. And I'll tell specifically also how we have tried to actually bring diversity in our hiring directly from campuses also. We obviously are not an organization that hires in very large numbers, but we do focus on ensuring that we get anywhere from around 70 to 100 fresh engineers out of college on a yearly basis. I, in fact, am a huge believer in a model like Infosys. Sometimes people think that that's a very services-oriented model wherein you can bring in freshers, train them, and actually accelerate their enterprise value creation within the company. I think it's a great model. And I do believe that for the very reasons that I spoke about fintech being both a domain and technology oriented space, we believe a lot in ensuring that we bring in folks, train them to understand PhonePe's technology stack, understand PhonePe's culture, understand PhonePe's domain, understand everything about regulations. For example, we are highly regulated. NPCI actually also looks at us from the perspective of are we compliant on a lot of things. RBI looks at it obviously from the perspective of whether we are compliant on the licenses that we have. So it's a very important part of the learning, and therefore training for freshers is something that we focus on significantly. Coming back to actually how we inculcate freshers into the organization, specifically women, one of the things again that we realized was because I hire in numbers that are smaller, like compared to a lot of the other companies, maybe 50 to 100 engineers, uh, and go to these campuses, just because of the sheer scale of men graduating out of the engineering colleges versus the women, there tends to be this skew towards more men joining from colleges compared to women. And there are multiple reasons for that. Some of the colleges that we go to typically are residence schools. A lot of the women we did research are day scholars in the engineering segment. So we diversified our hiring plan to include colleges that had day scholars, which clearly had a 50-50, if not more, women engineers graduating out of computer science, electronics. So that's a very simple insight where we started focusing on colleges that are day scholars outside of colleges that are women only. We also created a program called Tech Scholars along with Cryo, which very specifically creates project oriented learning for women in their 8th semester, almost like an internship that is focused. And at the end of that, we actually hire from that entire batch into PhonePe as a completely separate pipeline to visiting the college itself. From an internship perspective, we like to do the 6-month last semester internship completely in PhonePe. and that goes into a pre-placement offer that we give. The advantage of that is you become one of the strongest fresh engineers in the company as soon as you graduate from the internship into a full-time position because of the 6 month on-the-job training that you have at PhonePe. Finally, we actually created something called PhonePe University. I'm super proud about that and excited. It was to the first point. I think there's a lot of things that we do uniquely as a company and specifically a technology org. So we have workshops about everything as simple as understanding our own infrastructure. We run in our own data centers. So build grounds up. So we don't use AWS or we don't use Azure as much. We do use Azure now for very, very important verticals, but we have a large footprint on our own data center. So infrastructure understanding, troubleshooting, scaling, performance, these are all workshops that we conduct. So it's almost like being within PhonePe and signing up for a course as you would sign up for courses in colleges. And some of the architects and senior engineers become the instructors. We have lab sessions, hands-on coding sessions, paired programming sessions so that you can actually improve your skills on the coding side, etc. So I think all in all, we try and design programs so that we complement on-the-job learning with out-of-band coaching so that you become more effective as engineers faster in your career. My biggest pitch for PhonePe, and I think I will do this even for startups. The big difference by joining the fintech space with a startup compared to joining any large company, and that goes for NPCI, by the way, I consider them one of the best startups in the country, is the fact that you get a compressed learning cycle in your career that you will never get otherwise. 5 years in a very large organization, what you would learn 1 year at a PhonePe, right? And that 1 year learning means that you accelerated your career and your growth as an engineer by 4 years. That's the way to look at the opportunity that fintech startups and PhonePe offers.
Excellent. So there is so much that PhonePe is doing. I think this segment will definitely be very happy to know about it. And the pre-placement program. So I guess 6 months, the person has already trained as PhonePe employee, and I'm sure the conversions would be really good. What PhonePe must be seeing, and
Extremely
I
good.
guess
Yeah.
yeah, because 6 months.
At that point, it becomes almost impossible for us because 6 months at PhonePe, you pretty
Hmm.
much are a full-time employee and you are part of critical projects, so it becomes a no-brainer for you to just
Yeah, so
continue.
I guess the person has already synced in the thought process that yes, he or she is now a PhonePe employee. I guess because by 6 months, you get them through the day in and day out activities. So if a fresher would always like to have belonging to the organization. That's, touching the sentimental side of a
Yeah.
fresher or a new person who's starting career. So I guess that's great. Just adding up on this question only for the Rahul, maybe, if we can have some link or some connect which can help the people who have registered for this call to apply if they're willing for
So
some career
yeah,
opportunities and
please do
internships.
apply on the PhonePe careers website. I can assure you that phonepay.com/careers, it is not a dead end. We look at every resume that comes through that channel. You have a form to fill. You can fill the form and actually give a reference to this event also.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Just give a reference to the event, NPCI and Aspire for Her event looking out. We definitely look at every resume. We'll try to actually see how many internships we can create. We'll try to see how many we can actually offer into the cryo program, the tech scholars program, which is an amazing program that's designed with us. So our team sits with cryo and designs the projects so that it's equivalent to an internship. It's again a 8 weeks or 12-week course with them. So please write in at phonepay.com/careers.
I guess, Shweta, we are coming to your question as well. Maybe I can add up this question there. So that's really nice to know about the initiative of PhonePe on the internships and new career opportunity for the freshers. Something similar in this line, as we now have been speaking a lot about, freshers or the young women and female who are willing to explore the fintech domain. But there's another side of the women wherein we have a lot of chunk that's women returning, right? Women returning from maternities or sabbaticals or due to some personal challenges. So we are very keen to know how is this segment visualized at PhonePe, or what is the support channels that PhonePe extends, especially in cases of women returning?
So,
How is PhonePe beautifying this journey for women?
so we actually don't differentiate or try in any way to actually look at women returning to the workforce from a lens of uh, whether they would be effective enough, whether they would be able to actually add value. We don't do that at all. What we do look at is about the fact that given what was your experience before the career break that you did take, and if the career break has been very long, has there been enough of an effort to kind of keep in touch with technology if you're looking at a technology role? That's the only thing that we look at, right? What I have specifically suggested in certain cases is to look at teams wherein the landing can be a slightly soft landing, because the only challenge that is a correct challenge is when you're returning after a career break, and if the career break has been long, if it's a maternity break, whether it is for employees within PhonePe, or you had a maternity break and you actually joined a new company and you're coming to PhonePe after that, that for us is no different than somebody taking a maternity break within the company, and we have no problem at all for them joining any of the teams. If the break has been longer and you're joining in a role that is obviously a senior role, given that you have experience behind you, we look at teams where you can actually take a little more time to be able to actually get inculcated, start actually looking at everything as if the break never existed. So sometimes we look at the QA team. Otherwise, we look at slightly more mature teams wherein the platforms are more stable, and you can actually start doing incremental innovation before you go for some larger goals, right? So I think that's how we look at the returning workforce. One of the things that has definitely helped us at PhonePe, both not just for women returning to work, but also younger women, freshers joining out of college, is having a leadership group in women that is extremely strong at PhonePe. I mean, Punita knows this. Payments, for a very large part, is run by women leaders in PhonePe. Whether it's on the business side, whether it's on the product side, whether it's on the technology side,
Or
and
be the HR, be the HR, new
yeah,
known fact.
yeah. So, and they're extremely qualified. They've gone through this journey. They are there as mentors within the organization. We have regular connects within the organization for women in PhonePe to discuss their career path. I think there is nothing better than having really strong role model women within the organization for women to be able to actually chalk their own career path, right? So I think, yeah, that's how we look at it.
I guess that's a very good call out, that every woman very what has been the intention of that particular female, the willing to get connected or stay updated, and if someone is willing to come back, we can give something that is comparatively on a lesser critical or a little slow learnings, and then eventually you can bring up to the speed. So that's an amazing thought process if that runs through the organization as well. So as we just slightly touched that point, I would like, why don't you throw some light on the women leadership at PhonePe? And I'm sure you have really good examples to say, because I deal with PhonePe and I know women are there in all the categories, and they're heading. You have really good leadership representation on the women's side at PhonePe. So just something
Same
that
with
you can share.
NPCI. Ravina is a very, very senior leader, CEO at NPCI, an amazing leader. We have just as very specific examples. PhonePe is synonymous with payments. The vice president for consumer payments is Sonika. She's ex-Western Union, an amazing career before she joined PhonePe, and top leader at PhonePe, leading our consumer payments business. Pooja is the head of engineering for core payments, which is basically the bread and butter and the scalable systems that we have to actually drive the volume of transactions that we do drive on a daily basis. Nidhi is the product head for payments. The troika of women leaders who are leading payments is a classic example of how we look at women leadership. And they are there because they are the best for the job, right? And there is that's it. There's nothing else to it. But having said that, I think the perspectives that they bring to the table, the balance that they bring when they actually are working with their male counterparts is phenomenal, right? Like I said, I think the domain needs that.
Yeah.
Women in general, I believe, are significantly better at time management. My male colleagues are going to call me out on this one, but I do believe that they're very good at time management. Similarly, there'll be traits in men that we look up to, right? So I think that kind of mix becomes the culture of the company, and then folks that are working with them look up to them for that. So we have a great mix of folks, both men and women, and we have them at the leadership role, which is the most important thing because that's how you shape culture in the organization. If you are skewed on the top, right, you will always stay skewed even at the bottom. It's as simple as that. So that's one of the things that we've been very careful about when we shaping our org design.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So I think good you mentioned that there are equally efficient set of the male leaders as well and giving their best foot forward because that's definitely it's the male and the female perspective that come together and make every mission or every project possible at PhonePe. So I guess that was really nice to know from you, Rahul, and I think it's very nicely balanced and very thoughtful thoughts that we came to know about from you and the approach that PhonePe has towards women and women empowerment. And we can evidently see that PhonePe is trying its best to do its bit in contributing this fact. So I think that's all I had to put across. And there are some questions which are there in chat, and I guess people are asking about technical, non-technical openings. I would like to hand over the session to Hiral. She can pick up the questions, and Rahul, we just want your quick inputs on that.
Sure.
Aishwarya asks that what are the skills that are required by an individual to work in PhonePe?
So if you look at it completely from a non-stream perspective, whether it's tech, whether it is business, whether it's product, all of that, the least common denominator in all of it is one, strong problem-solving skills. Two, having good communication skills and being able to actually have a opinion on that. And three, showing great signs of data orientation. I think that would be the from a skill perspective, strong data orientation, ability to actually look at data and allow data to make decisions, because that's how we operate. We don't allow titles or perceptions or hunches to ultimately decide. As far as possible, we actually focus on data. Strong problem solving skills, because that's extremely important, whether you're an engineer or a business person or a products person. And communication. We are still, as a company, significantly more fighting it out on the whiteboard, having healthy debates and arguments, but then agreeing upon what's the right approach, right? And therefore, communication skills do matter. These would be the least common denominator. And then the skills become role specific. For example, in the technology side of it, obviously, strong coding skills, design skills, ability to actually have design thinking of how you're going to be able to build out systems. And as the seniority grows, a strong focus on performance and scalability. That would be on the tech side. And then each of the functions would have their own skill sets, yes.
We
I guess
also have
hold
a
on
question.
data is something the most important thing, I guess, for every fresher who's here in this forum.
I think data is the most important thing now going forward, irrespective of which sector or space that you're
Yeah.
working in, whether it's in the technology sector or it's in the manufacturing sector or it is in oil and natural gas, it doesn't matter. Everything is data. If you, for example, if you go to the oil and natural gas sector or the chemical industry, there are IoT devices everywhere that are getting all sorts of data. The data is getting streamed to your cloud, and there's a humongous amount of data to increase efficiency of processes, improve yield, and a whole bunch of things, right? So I think data orientation is probably the one thing that would be common to every industry that is going forward and in every role.
We also have a question around, are there any non-tech roles in PhonePe?
Of course, there are non-tech roles. Of course, the hiring on the technology side is always uh, a little larger. We do have large number of openings. Hiring on the non-tech side, depending on which functions. For example, HR might have a few roles. Finance might have a few roles. Business development might have more roles. So it really depends on which part of the non-tech. Combined on the non-tech side, obviously we have a lot of hiring. But on the tech side, it's because it's generalist. We could be hiring for any technology team. We would be hire in a uniform manner. We have a large number of combined positions. On the non-tech side, it would be function specific, right? So product would be one, design would be the others. Then there would be HR, then there would be the corporate functions, HR, legal, compliance. We have all the functions do have hiring at PhonePe, but each function would have limited positions. Combined, those non-tech positions would be large.
We have one more question from returnee women. Shweta asks that if a woman returning to work after a break were to apply at PhonePe or other fintechs, which technological stack should she be well versed in for the internships?
So we are completely, largely a Java shop. So we use Java primarily across the board. We use Drop Wizard as our framework for writing Java applications, and we use MySQL as our primary database. So if there is focus that you want to actually put into train yourself, it should be Java and MySQL. You could be using Drop Wizard for this thing. As big tables, we use HBase primarily and Aerospike. Having said that, I think it's good to know the programming language, but when we are hiring, we don't necessarily focus whether the person is very, very strong in Java or not. As long as they are great in coding and design skills and problem solving, we believe that you can actually pick up any programming language. But those are the stacks that we use at PhonePe.
Are there any roles for those who have done cloud computing, such as AWS cloud computing and DevOps tools?
100%. I'm glad somebody brought that up. We hire on the SRE side, the DevOps side, quite a bit. We do have, in fact, a large internship program every year for DevOps and SRE, and we have, I think, if I have my data correct, the largest from within the company across all teams, the percentage of women is largest in our SRE team. They've done a really good job. Burzan, who's my co-founder, heads the SRE function, phenomenal leader. One of the teams that has the highest rating within the company when it comes to their happiness index, if you may call it that, as well as a very high ratio of women. Yes, we do. And we do have an internship program specifically for SRE and DevOps.
That's great. We have a question around salary. What's the basic salary for a fresher, especially from non-tech background?
I don't think I can share the exact salary, but what I can assure is that we are probably best in market for sure. So on both the tech as well as the non-tech side.
Thank you so much for sharing. And we would definitely be looking forward to seeing many women enter and succeed in fintech and especially in PhonePe. Any questions
I
from?
I actually have something to add. Mr. Chari, thank you really for that hugely insightful and inspirational session. There were many quotable quotes, but the one that stood out for me is that you came out of the pandemic with a footprint in every postcode of the country. That to me is really inspirational. It's inspirational as an individual, and it's inspirational for businesses, startups, anyone who's into any career. That really talks about impact. And I think all of us who are here on this platform today should look at taking that away as to how to make an impact in what we are doing individually, whether we are in a business, we are a student, or we are trying to get into a job. Impact is what matters.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I guess we are done now with all the questions that we had for Rahul. And I really want to appreciate the time, Rahul, that you have taken out to interact with all of us and share your thoughts. I guess the questions also which have come up, I think this is just a very small lot which is very curious to join PhonePe. There's a user chunk of freshers out there who are looking forward to get engaged with PhonePe on the technical as well as the non-technical role. And I think the word of mouth from this webinar will help you to reach some really good set of freshers lot that can help in the journey of PhonePe. And once again, really thanks a lot for taking out the time and being
Thank you,
part of the
Punitaa.
session with us.
No, it
Yeah,
was
do we
fun.
have
Thanks
time
a
for
lot.
one more question? We have a
Sure.
inquisitive question about what do you see as the future of fintech?
I think from a future of fintech, without too much crystal ball gazing, I do believe that the amount of conversation, I think a lot of the traditional finance companies will also move towards being technology companies, and fintechs per se would become a very strong partner to them in their journey. And if not immediately, but in the near future, obviously, data, machine learning, and AI would play a significant role in decisioning of how we actually work with our finances and money. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today.
Bye, Hero. See you.
Thank you. Thank you, Punitaa.